If you've been struggling with binge eating and beating yourself up and feeling guilty and like you need to be punished every time that you binge, and you just keep going around and around and around, telling yourself this is the last time, we're going back on the diet on Monday, but you keep falling into these patterns of emotional and binge eating, then this video is for you. And by the end of it, I'm going to show you exactly the 3 steps that you can start taking to start changing the pattern and breaking the cycle. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. My name is Dawn Michaela and I help women disconnect from dieting and reconnect with their bodies through mindful eating and dance. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you should be doing after a binge to keep yourself from going down that avenue of guilt and shame and blame and feeling like you have to spend the whole next day on the treadmill burning off whatever you ate. And by the end of the video, you're gonna know exactly what to do to start changing your mindset and start changing your patterns so that you can start breaking the cycle of emotional and binge eating. Now, when we binge, what normally happens right after? For me, when I was still struggling with food 12 years ago, I would start blaming myself. I mean, the guilt was insane, and telling myself, like, you always do this. Why do you always do this? What is wrong with you? Can't you just get a freaking little bit of control? Like, it's a cookie, for crying out loud. Like, you have no power over a cookie. Oh my God, you're so weak. What is wrong with you? And I would just start thinking of all these ways that I could punish myself, because maybe if I punished myself enough this time, maybe if I like spanked myself and self-flagellated myself enough, maybe next time I would finally learn the lesson and I wouldn't do this anymore. So I would then be like, okay, tomorrow we are going back on the diet. I'm only eating carrot sticks tomorrow. We're only gonna let ourselves eat maybe 1,000 calories. I did get down to a point where I wouldn't let myself eat more than 500 calories, but that is a whole nother video, a whole nother story of how I got myself out of that. But, you know, I would just start thinking of ways to punish myself. And I would just reaffirm to myself over and over and over again, you have no control. We always do this. Why do you always do this? And, you know, I just felt completely powerless. And like restriction was my only way out. So I would start brainstorming all these ways to like slap chains on myself, to like keep myself from going to the food. And that included, you know, excessive working out. Like, okay, tomorrow we're going to spend 6 hours on the treadmill, or we're going to say no to the next party because we can't be trusted around food. Like, do we really want to, is it worth it? No. And so I would isolate myself even further because I was afraid of the food. Does this sound familiar? Anybody else experience this? Right? This is what so many of my clients come to me struggling with, of just this incredible guilt and shame around food and around themselves when they binge. And, you know, just quick side note, another thing that happens when we binge is you almost get in this place of like, after you reach a certain point, you're just like, screw it. I've already completely blown myself, you know, out of the water today. But diet starts tomorrow. But hey, since I've already done this much damage, might as well be a free-for-all. And that's one of the things that pushes the binge even further, is this almost just like, all right, well, we might as well just make the most of it now. You know, we already completely screwed this one up. So we'll start again tomorrow. And then for the rest of the evening, it can just kind of go off the rails until either the food is gone or you are so sick that you literally cannot take another bite. And so the first thing that we have to realize about what's happening here is the shame bit. When we shame ourselves like this, shame is an emotion. It's a really intense, really heavy emotion that carries a lot of power and a lot of power over how we view ourselves and how we see ourselves. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't think about or don't realize, is that shame is one of the biggest emotions that triggers emotional eating. So when we shame ourselves like this, we are actually adding fuel to the fire. Because when we feel ashamed of ourselves, we feel like we're worthless, like we're trash, really. It's this deep, deep shame of like, I have no value, I have no worth, no one would ever want me when I'm like this. And when we see ourselves like trash, it triggers us to treat ourselves like trash. And so it actually spurs the binging even more. So our first mindset shift that has to happen in order to keep ourselves from doing this to ourselves is we've got to stop this shame and blame game. So how do we start breaking out of this cycle of using shame and guilt and deprivation to punish ourselves for a binge? Well, you got to think of it like a child. And if a child makes a mistake, good parents wouldn't just yell at the child and be like, you're terrible, you're stupid, what is wrong with you? Can't you get this right? My God, I raised you better than this, right? If you saw somebody berating a child like that, you'd probably be like, oh my God, stop. Like that's verbally and psychologically abusive. Don't do that. But when we do it to ourselves, we feel justified in doing it. It feels okay. And that is one of the first things that has to stop, is we have to break out of this mindset that abusing ourselves emotionally and psychologically is okay, that this is an okay response to when we just make a mistake. And so we have to start getting to the point where just the stomach ache, that's punishment enough. That's as far as the punishment needs to go. It's just, okay, I'm going to have to pay the consequence of my choices, and I'm going to have to deal with this stomach ache, and I'm probably going to feel like shit tomorrow too. Like that's going to be punishment enough. So if we're not punishing ourselves as a response to a binge, then how do we start breaking the cycle? Well, it all starts with mindset and asking 3 questions. And the first question is honestly just, why did I do that? Why did I do that? This is something that when I started mindful eating, I started realizing I wasn't asking myself this question. I wasn't asking myself, why did I make that choice? What was going on for me? What was I feeling? Maybe what had I gone through that day? What conversation did I just have? Why did I feel like I needed to do that? And understanding why you're doing something, that has so much power to help you shift it and change it. And I tell my clients all the time, you cannot climb a wall you don't see. All right, so the first step in shifting this whole thing is asking yourself, why did I do this? Why did I start making these choices? And check in with your mental state and your emotions and be like, was I really stressed? Was there someone at that party that, triggered me? Was it I had a hard day at work? Was it, I just got broken up with? I was lonely. I was, whatever. Do some self-inventory to figure out, why did I start doing that? That's step number 1. Second thing we need to do is to be able to look at the why without judgment and to forgive ourselves and to just be like, okay, you know what? I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I'm human. That's okay. I forgive myself. But what I tell my clients to start using the language of is, I realize that I just chose wrong. I just chose fear. I chose to believe that I wasn't good enough. I chose to believe that food was going to make me feel better. I realized that I chose something that was not in alignment with who I want to be and where I want to go. And I'm sorry. I forgive myself for that. I recognize that I made that choice out of pain. That kind of acceptance, that kind of forgiveness is so healing because it allows it to just be, and it allows you to learn from it, right? And so then you think about, okay, what am I going to do differently next time? When it's this just neutral, wow, I really chose wrong. I want to make sure that I choose right next time. Now it's just, there's no judgment. And so it allows us to go like, okay, what could I have done differently? What do I wish I would have done differently? At what point do I wish mindfulness would have clicked in? And what could I have done differently? So you start creating this game plan for when I end up in this situation again, where I'm around food and I get triggered emotionally and I want to go to the food and just completely numb out. Where can I go different? Where can I make a different choice? And then the final step 3 is the return to love. And asking yourself right there, how can I love myself now? And that is a pivotal thing because like I said at the beginning, we so often in response to a binge, we go down this avenue of I deserve to be punished, I deserve guilt, I deserve shame. We don't think that I deserve love. And that is where we are completely going wrong, is that you always deserve love. I mean, think of it like any relationship you've had. When you make a mistake and you're feeling terrible about it, how amazing it feels for the other person to come up and go, hey, I forgive you. I still love you. It's okay. We're going to be okay. And they give you a hug. How it feels just like, oh my God. And it reaffirms for you that like, I love this person. I want to do better for them. That is what we need to start building with ourselves. So we have to return to love. So the third question you ask yourself is, how can I choose love right now? And that might be going for a walk. That might be, I really need to drink some water. It might be going to sleep. It might be, okay, in the morning, I'm going to start the day with, some really, really good food, maybe a smoothie or some oatmeal. And, maybe I'll lean a little bit more into vegetables tomorrow to help my body rebalance. I think my body would really appreciate that, considering I just gave it a lot to deal with. Tomorrow, we're really going to take it easy, and I'm not going to expect much from myself tomorrow. So it's like that kind of stuff of like, how do I repair the damage I just did? Not how do I keep smashing myself and making myself feel terrible about something I already did and can't change. It's how do I start putting the pieces back together? How do I start healing? So when you start putting these 3 action steps in place as a response to when you binge instead of the guilt and the shame, you'll be amazed how different your experience will be, how different you will feel about yourself and about the mistake that you made. And it'll just start changing everything. And when I started putting this into action, I started curbing my binging so fast because I was able to understand that I'm not doing this because I'm powerless. I'm not doing this because I'm weak and just have no control and no motivation, which had been the story I was telling myself. When I started checking in with my why, I started realizing I'm doing this because I'm in incredible pain. I'm doing this because I'm not happy. I'm doing this because I really don't like myself very much and I believe I deserve to be punished. And as soon as I could see that, how I wanted to respond to that completely changed. It completely changed. Like, I don't want to beat myself up just because I was in pain. I want to do whatever it takes to get myself out of pain and to heal that. And so being able to respond to our binges from that place of love and acceptance and forgiveness and compassion for ourselves, and our ability to go, you know what? I forgive myself for my mistakes. And I'm going to choose to learn from them and grow from them instead of shame myself for them. And when I realize that I chose wrong, I can immediately choose again. I can make another choice and I can immediately take a step right back to myself. And when you start doing that, your whole world's going to change faster than you can imagine. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications to get notified when I post another video. Share it with somebody who you feel also needs to hear this message today. And remember that you have everything you need to overcome this already inside you. Peace and love. Bye.